On June 19th, the governor of Louisiana, Jeff Landry, put his signature on a new law that requires public schools and state-funded universities to display the Ten Commandments. Well, needless to say, a firestorm of protest was set off by this, including a lawsuit from the ACLU to challenge the law. My next guest, Dr. Jerry Newcomb, is executive director of Providence Forum, a division of Coral Ridge Ministries, and he's written an article titled, "Are the Ten Commandments Making a Comeback?" He's with us now. Hello, Dr. Newcomb. Good to have you with us.
Thank you, Jeff. Good to be with you.
You're a theologian and a student of American history. I'll ask you the question, is there a new openness to having the Ten Commandments displayed like this?
I think so. I think people have realized that the way this encroaching secularism being imposed upon us, often through judicial fiat, in other words, through court decisions for years and years and years, has chipped away so much at the foundation of American liberty. I'm confident that the founding fathers would have been aghast at the idea that the Ten Commandments would not even be allowed in public schools. And yet there was a Supreme Court decision in 1980 where they actually said, it was Stone v. Graham, if the Ten Commandments are posted in the schools, then maybe the children will read them, meditate on them, venerate them, and obey them. And then they said, well, that's impermissible according to the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment. But George Washington himself referred to the rules that heaven itself has ordained. We should never neglect those. John Adams said our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. And yet the modern secularists have pushed any kind of religious expression out of the public square as if that somehow is what the founders wanted under the Establishment Clause. And that's just baloney.
How foundational are the Ten Commandments to the national laws that we have?
Well, I think at least indirectly, you could say that they're the basis of so much of our laws. And, it's very interesting. I just heard a theologian talk about the Ten Commandments and how protective they are. They're protective to society. The first commandment, I am the Lord your God, you shall have no other gods before me, that protects theology. The second commandment protects, well, how do we worship that one true God? The third one protects his holy name. The fourth one protects his day, which, by the way, is for us and for our good. It's good to have those. You've heard this illustration, I'm sure, Jeff. If you take a rubber band and you stretch it out beyond tautness, and then you put it between two poles and just keep it like that, eventually it will lose its stretchiness because it wears out. We need to take breaks, and the Sabbath allows that. The fifth commandment protects the family. The sixth, rather, protects life. The seventh, marriage. The eighth, property and making a living. The ninth protects your reputation from false witness. And finally, the 10th one protects your heart. So the Ten Commandments are very good, and historically, the Bible, and including the Ten Commandments, have been a part of our laws, as in the background at least.
Dr. Newcomb, states like Texas, Oklahoma, Utah have proposed bills like the one that we've seen in Louisiana, but they haven't been able to make them into law. Do you think that we've reached a place or a tipping point in our nation where lawmakers aren't going to be worried about groups like the ACLU and just go ahead and pass these into laws?
That's very possible. When the Ten Commandments were banned from the public schools in 1980, when prayer was banned in 1962, at least prayers officially written by the school officials or whatever, in 1962, and then Bible reading as devotions was banned in 1963 and so forth by the Supreme Court. The net effect of all that was to drive any kind of Christian expression out of the public arena and in the public schools. And it's gotten to a ridiculous point. And when those things happened, there were no school shootings like there are today. They didn't have any of that kind of terrible type things. It's almost as if, okay, God has been kicked out of the public schools, and in his place, we've had to put in the metal detectors. So I think maybe some people, some of this is bouncing back, if you will.
I think about that because of all of the high profile people leaving California. And these are not known religious figures, but they're pointing to the social chaos that's there. And it just makes me wonder if our society as a whole isn't reaching a point where we're saying, maybe we shouldn't have outlawed God in the public schools.
Yeah, well, okay, you mentioned the schools specifically.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to say this. The founding fathers in 1787, and then they reaffirmed the same law in 1789. It's called the Northwest Ordinance. The idea behind it was that when new territories were to become new states of the United States of America, they would all kind of have the same type of template. And in that Article 3 of the Northwest Ordinance, they said, religion, morality, and knowledge being necessary for good government and the happiness of mankind, schools and the means of education shall forever be encouraged. Now, this was at a time when education still, it was voluntary, it was church run, there was a lot of homeschooling, and the kids were literate because back then the Bible was the chief textbook in one way or another. Now, think about this. The founding fathers of America said that the reason for schools and education, which should be encouraged forever, was religion, which in those days, the vast majority that meant Christianity in one stripe or another, morality, including, Judeo-Christian morality, certainly including the Ten Commandments, and knowledge, oh, yeah, we got to throw in knowledge too. Yeah, there's going to, but now it's been totally twisted. And now it's been so twisted where my work at Coral Ridge Ministries through the years, I remember doing a story one time about a student in Tennessee. I believe it was Tennessee. She received permission and then was denied permission, where she was assigned write a paper and show how you use historical sources and you footnote things. So she wanted to write about the historical Jesus. And initially the teacher said, okay, that's fine, as long as you get your bibliography and your footnotes and all that right. And then the teacher changed her mind and said, no, you can't write about Jesus. That's a violation of separation of church and state. Meanwhile, other students were writing about magic and other religions and so forth. And the teacher or the student said, wait, you gave me permission. Anyway, bottom line, she got an F. And Nat Hentoff, not even a Christian man, but a man who was aware of, civil liberties and the fine points of civil liberties. In fact, he was kicked off the board from the ACLU for being too conservative in his perspectives. He was an atheist. But anyway, he wrote a column about that. And I never forget the headline. It said, an F for Jesus in the public school. And I thought, wow, what a story. And we interviewed her and her father and so forth. Bottom line is, the founders never intended for religion to be, not allowed at all in the public schools. And even if you read, for example, the decision about the Bible and the public school in 1963, they were basically saying that the Bible shouldn't be used as a devotional where you're trying to, in effect, cause the kids to worship. I disagree with that, but bottom line is, they even said you should know about the Bible, and therefore, if a teacher wanted to teach about the Bible related to history, that's fine. But the way the ACLU and their ilk, they've created a secular wasteland in so many parts of our public square, and then no wonder people are just resorting to their own natural evil within. We're all evil within. The key thing about the founders is they recognize that fact. That's why they divided power. That's why they said our rights come from God, and they are non-negotiable.
Hey, that's very good. Dr. Jerry Newcomb is our guest today. I want to point you to a website at providenceforum.org, where there are a number of resources. And Dr. Newcomb, I'll ask you about one. The Foundation of American Liberty is on the website. Tell us about that resource and other things that people can find when they go there.
Sure. The Foundation of American Liberty is a series of films that I've made that is in 7 different parts. Rabbi Lappin, by the way, is one of the guests. So is Dennis Prager. So is Oz Guinness, Eric Metaxas, Bill Federer, Dr. Peter Loback, who founded Providence Forum and generously gave it to the ministry, and many others. And the reason that we put this film series together is to basically show that in all these different ways, Christianity played a key role in the founding of America. I like to put it this way: what's right about America, and how did it get that way? The answer is found in those 7 different parts, from the Pilgrims, City on a Hill, the beginning of wisdom of the Bible and education, the road to independence, how Christianity played a key role, greasing the skids towards independence, then George Washington, then endowed by the Creator about the Declaration of Independence, and finally, we the people. And the question about, well, what about slavery and evil things like that are not compatible with Christianity? Well, where does that fit into the picture? Well, we deal with all these things and show how the whole world has been blessed because of principles of the Bible being applied to civil government and all these other spheres of life in what became America. So the good things about America can be seen and can often be traced right back to the pages of the Holy Scriptures.
That's wonderful. Well, again, the website is providenceforum.org, a film series called The Foundation of American Liberty. Dr. Newcomb, it's been a pleasure to have you on the program once again, and certainly we want to be in prayer for governors like Jeff Landry and other lawmakers that step out and have courage to do what is right and hopefully turn our country back to the Lord. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Jeff. God bless.